a sensation in the Ukrainian sky. While the entire world was left wondering exactly how quickly Ukrainian pilots would master advanced Western fighter jets, Intelligence Online has uncovered a surprising truth. At the controls of some Ukrainian F-16s are highly decorated aviation legends, veteran pilots from the United States and the Netherlands. This is no longer just a matter of training, it represents a significant new level of involvement by Western professionals in the active defense of our sovereign skies. Who are these brave individuals who traded a quiet retirement in Texas or Amsterdam for deadly duels with Russian Su-35s? How does the presence of NATO aces change the balance of power on the front? And why is the Kremlin in a panic, desperately searching for ways to counter the aerial legion? Right now, we'll break down exclusive information. Watch until the end. This is something you won't hear in the news. And for more details, check out our report. You're watching the Glavred channel, and I'm your host, Evgeny Serov. Like and subscribe to the channel. According to Intelligence Online, we're talking about volunteers with tremendous combat experience. These are veterans of the US Air Force and the Royal Netherlands Air Force, with hundreds of sorties in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya under their belts. They know the F-16 fighter jet like the back of their hand, from the subtle nuances of radar operation to the intricacies of electronic warfare. Their presence solves a critical problem, the shortage of time. Training a Ukrainian pilot from scratch usually takes months, if not years. But the veteran instructors who are now participating in combat missions are bringing pure NATO tactics to the Ukrainian skies. They don't just shoot down missiles, they teach Ukrainian squadrons to operate as a single high-tech mechanism capable of bypassing even the densest enemy air defenses. Why does the presence of foreign veterans frighten the Kremlin so much? It's all about effectiveness. Highly experienced F-16 pilots know exactly how to make the most of their AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles, destroying Russian aircraft from a distance before the enemy can even spot them on their onboard radars. Intelligence Online emphasizes that veterans from the US and the Netherlands are working closely with Ukrainian intelligence and Western long-range detection systems like AWACS. This creates a transparent sky over the front lines. Now, Russian Ka-52 and Su-25 pilots, who previously took part in the Elbrus operations, are increasingly becoming primary targets for the Phantoms, who strike down from the clouds with surgical precision. The official reports note that, from a legal perspective, these pilots are recognized members of the International Legion. This removes direct responsibility from their countries, but gives Ukraine the best specialists in the world. For Moscow, this is a nightmare come true. They can't accuse NATO of direct involvement, but they're also unable to counter these experienced aces. Russian propaganda has already started hunting for the names of these pilots, promising fabulous rewards for shooting down their planes. However, so far, the results have been dismal for the aggressor. F-16s, piloted by veterans, demonstrate incredible survivability, evading anti-aircraft missiles thanks to their experience and masterful use of electronic warfare systems. This is a tense war of nerves, and so far the Western professionals are still leading 1-0. Is it peace at any cost or just a strategic pause in the conflict? U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently made a bold statement that sets the future direction of Washington's foreign policy for 2026. While the front remains a place of fierce fighting, the word negotiations is being heard more and more often in the high offices of the American administration. What exactly did Rubio say about Ukraine's future? What specific conditions is the White House setting for starting a dialogue with the Kremlin? And why has the United States' position started to shift at this particular moment? Right now, we'll break down the exclusive details from the Glavred article. Watch until the end. This is a vision of the future that will impact each and every one of us, and there is a lot more information available in our full report. My name is Yevhen Serov, and this is the Glavred channel. Subscribe and give us a like. Let's get started. According to the publication, Marco Rubio emphasized a pragmatic approach in his speech. The main point put forward by the Secretary of State was that the war has now entered a critical stage. that demands a combination of not only military strength but also diplomatic flexibility. Rubio emphasizes that the United States is committed to ensuring that Ukraine emerges from this conflict as a sovereign and secure state. However, the methods for achieving this goal may change. Washington is no longer talking about fighting to the last, but is instead betting on creating conditions under which Moscow will be forced to come to the negotiating table. According to Rubio, this is the only way to stop the senseless bloodshed and prevent a global escalation, which the world came dangerously close to at the beginning of the year. The article in Glavred highlights the key conditions that the U.S. administration considers necessary to start a genuine process. Rubio made it clear that negotiations do not mean capitulation. On the contrary, Washington intends to strengthen Ukraine to such an extent that any agreement would be made from a position of strength for Kyiv. Among the Secretary of State's priorities are security guarantees. Without formal and legally binding international documents that prevent a new Russian attack, any agreements simply do not make sense. Regarding the complex territorial issues at hand, Rubio is cautious in his wording, but hints that realism involves fixing the current situation on the ground as a temporary measure to save lives. The role of allies. The United States firmly insists that Europe should take on a much greater share of the total financial burden of rebuilding Ukraine after a ceasefire. Rubio's recent statement sparked a mixed reaction among officials. In Kyiv, they clearly understand that their heavy dependence on American aid makes such signals mandatory for their consideration. However, the Ukrainian leadership continues to insist on a peace formula that includes the complete withdrawal of Russian troops. Rubio's words are not just a personal opinion, they represent the official policy of the world's most powerful country. We are entering a period of a great diplomatic game where the price of a mistake is the future of entire generations. Will Washington be able to persuade the parties to lay down their arms? Or are we facing a new round of confrontation?